Pack your desk, Maya. This just isn't working out. Those were the words Jennifer Walsh said to me on a Monday afternoon in front of the entire marketing department, not in her office, not in HR, in front of 23 people who suddenly found their keyboards very interesting. Your attitude has been problematic, she continued, crossing her arms like she was addressing a child. You don't collaborate. You question every decision. Frankly, you don't seem to understand how things work here at Catalyst Media Group. I looked at her, really looked at her, and thought about the $8 million my company had been paying Catalyst every single year. But I didn't say anything, because Jennifer Walsh had no idea who I actually was. And honestly, that was about to become her problem, not mine. My name is Maya Johnson, and Jennifer Walsh just made the worst business decision of her entire career. She doesn't know it yet, but in about 72 hours, she's going to. See, I'm 33 years old, and I sold my last company for $43 million when I was 32, which means this $58,000 a year job she just fired me from, I didn't actually need it. I took it because I was bored, because after you sell your company, brunch and yoga get old fast, because I wanted to work without the weight of being CEO. But mostly, I took it because I own an investment firm called Johnson Capital. And one of my portfolio companies has been paying Catalyst Media Group $8 million a year for the past 2 years. Jennifer just fired the person who's been writing her company's biggest checks, and she has absolutely no idea. I started at Catalyst 3 months ago, went on LinkedIn, found a senior marketing analyst position, applied like everyone else, submitted my resume through their website, did a phone screen, came in for interviews. Nobody recognized my name because I'd kept a low profile after selling my company. No press, no conference speaking, just a quiet exit and a quieter life afterward. They offered me $58,000 a year. I accepted. My friends thought I'd lost my mind, but I wanted to remember what it felt like to just be good at something without the performance of being CEO. To work on projects without the weight of payroll and investors and exit strategies hanging over every decision. I started on a Monday in September. The office was nice. Downtown Seattle, exposed brick walls, those expensive Edison bulb lights, the kind of place that photographs well for recruiting materials. My manager was Jennifer Walsh, VP of Operations, 47 years old, 20 years in marketing. She seemed fine at first, professional, a little distant, but I figured that was normal for a VP meeting a new analyst. I should have known something was off within my first week. I was in my first big strategy meeting, one of those conference rooms with the glass walls where everyone can see you, which always feels weird. The head of marketing, David Park, was presenting the quarterly campaign for TechFlow Solutions. TechFlow was huge for them. $8 million a year, the kind of client that literally keeps the lights on and pays everyone's salary, including David's. But David's presentation was not good. The targeting was completely off. The messaging was the kind of generic corporate speak that sounds important, but says absolutely nothing. And they were planning to spend 60% of the budget on display ads. You know, those banner ads everyone ignores. The kind that would be lucky to get even 1% of people to click. I'd run this exact type of campaign dozens of times at my last company. I knew what worked and what was just lighting money on fire. So I raised my hand, trying to be helpful. Sorry, quick question. Have we thought about focusing more on the actual decision makers? The executives and directors usually respond way better to LinkedIn and industry publications than banner ads, especially when you're selling to other businesses, not regular consumers. The room went completely silent. You know that feeling when you say something in a meeting and suddenly realize you've broken some invisible rule nobody told you about? Yeah. That. David smiled, but his eyes stayed cold. That's an interesting perspective, Maya. But we've been doing this for 15 years. I think we know our client pretty well. Jennifer nodded from across the table. Maybe just observe for the first few months. Get a feel for how we do things here before jumping in with suggestions. Translation. Shut up, new girl. Stay in your lane. I nodded and closed my laptop, feeling my face get hot. But here's what I didn't say. TechFlow Solutions wasn't just Catalyst's client. They were my client too. Through one of my portfolio companies, I was essentially the person writing the $8 million checks that David Park was cashing every year. That 15 years of experience he was so proud of, it was being funded by a 33-year-old woman he'd just talked down to in front of a dozen people. But he had no idea. Nobody did. And honestly, I kind of wanted to keep it that way. Because when people think you don't matter, they don't filter themselves around you. They don't manage how you see them. They just are. Over the next few weeks, a pattern started to emerge. Catalyst Media Group was incredible at looking successful. Fancy office, client dinners at steakhouses where the wine list needs its own table. A CEO who spoke at marketing conferences and posted leadership insights on LinkedIn twice a week. But underneath all that polish, they were struggling. Deadlines got missed constantly, then everyone scrambled at the last minute. Work went out with typos and wrong logos. I once saw them send materials to TechFlow with their competitors' branding on it. The actual logo of the company TechFlow was competing against. I still don't understand how that happened. The turnover was brutal. Every month, someone new was sitting at a desk that had 3 different nameplates stuffed in the drawer. People just kept leaving, and nobody seemed to ask why. And the leadership? They were the real problem. In my second month, a junior designer named Alex pitched an idea in the weekly creative meeting. It was brilliant. A simple process change that would have saved TechFlow about $200,000 in production costs while actually improving the quality of the work. Jennifer cut him off mid-sentence. "That's not how we do things here, Alex. No discussion, no consideration, just a flat no." The next week, TechFlow's CMO sent an email complaining about their budget bloat. I saw it because I was copied on client correspondence by then. She was frustrated, asking why costs kept climbing while results stayed flat. I sent Jennifer a private email that night, just her and me. I mentioned Alex's idea, explained how it could directly address the client's concerns, offered to help implement it. She never responded, but Alex got moved to a different team 2 days later. Suddenly, he was doing social media scheduling instead of actual creative work. I asked him about it at lunch one day, and he just shrugged. "Yeah, I don't know. Jennifer said they needed someone on that team, but I think I just asked too many questions, you know?" I knew. I watched David take full credit for a campaign his team had built while he was on vacation in London, posting Instagram stories about disconnecting to reconnect. I watched the CEO, Ron Mitchell, give this big, inspiring speech at an all-hands meeting about our collaborative culture and how everyone's voice matters. Then, literally, that same afternoon, I heard him screaming at his assistant through his office door because she'd ordered him the wrong sandwich for lunch. The place was a masterclass in how ego destroys companies from the inside. And I just watched, took notes, did my work, kept my mouth shut most of the time. And what Catalyst was, underneath all the LinkedIn posts and startup culture aesthetics, was a company being run by people who cared more about looking successful than actually being successful. But the real problem started in my third month. TechFlow was getting ready to renew their annual contract, $8 million. The contract that kept the company alive, and their CMO, Sandra Liu, was sending increasingly worried emails to my portfolio company. I saw them because I still had access to those systems. I hadn't told anyone at Catalyst about Johnson Capital, but I hadn't exactly hidden it either. It just never came up. Sandra's emails were getting more direct each week. Catalyst missed another major deadline. That's 3 times this quarter. The creative team somehow sent us materials with our competitor's logo. How does that even happen? We're seriously considering other agencies. Do you have any other recommendations? I couldn't respond directly to Sandra without completely blowing my cover at Catalyst. But I could see exactly where this was headed. TechFlow was going to walk. And when they did, they'd take their $8 million with them. That was more than a third of Catalyst's total revenue. People would lose their jobs, good people who had nothing to do with the dysfunction at the top. So I did something that, looking back, was probably stupid. I tried to fix it. It was a Monday morning status meeting. Jennifer, David, me, and 4 other team members going through our active accounts. When we got to TechFlow, David breezed through it like everything was perfect. On track, no issues, clients happy. I'd literally seen Sandra's frustrated emails the night before. She was absolutely not happy. I kept my voice casual, trying not to sound like I was challenging him. Hey, just a thought. I've been working pretty closely on the TechFlow stuff, and I'm noticing they're frustrated with turnaround times and brand consistency. Maybe we could add one more quality check before things go to them? Just an extra set of eyes to catch issues before they become problems. Jennifer's whole face changed. That look when someone decides you've crossed a line you didn't even know existed. Maya, you've been here 3 months. You don't have the complete picture of this relationship. I get that, but their feedback has been pretty consistent over the past few weeks, and I think if we just... No. She cut me off like I was a telemarketer. What you're doing right now, this constant questioning? This is exactly what I've been discussing with HR. The room went dead silent. David suddenly found his phone very interesting. Everyone else discovered urgent reasons to stare at their laptops. My stomach dropped. Discussing what with HR? Your attitude, Jennifer said flatly. You have a lot of strong opinions for someone at your level. It comes across as not being a team player. There it was. Not a team player. Corporate speak for you're making us look bad by being right, and we need you to stop. I didn't say anything else in that meeting. I just nodded and went back to my desk and felt my face burning for the next hour. After that meeting, everything shifted. Jennifer started leaving me out of important conversations. My project assignments got smaller and more administrative. I went from working on actual strategy to literally proofreading other people's PowerPoints, catching typos, fixing formatting, work that an intern could do. But I still had visibility into the TechFlow account, and I watched the relationship fall apart in real time. Another missed deadline the next week. More off-brand creative the week after that. A presentation deck that had data from the wrong quarter in it. David presented it to TechFlow in a video call, and I watched Sandra's face on the screen. She wasn't angry. She was just tired. The look of someone who's done trying to fix something that keeps breaking. Sandra's emails stopped being polite. She started copying her CFO and the company's lawyers on every message, the corporate way of saying, "This might get ugly." The warning signs were everywhere, written in letters 10 feet tall. I tried one more time to help. That Thursday afternoon, I sent Jennifer a private email. No one else copied, just her. I laid out everything I was seeing, the pattern of missed deadlines, the quality issues, the growing frustration in Sandra's messages. I suggested some quick, easy fixes, process changes that wouldn't require new hires or big budget shifts, just better systems. I wasn't criticizing anyone. I was trying to help. I ended the email with, "I'm happy to help implement any of this. I know you're juggling a lot, and I have some experience with client retention from my previous role." She never responded, but 2 days later, on Saturday morning, I got a calendar invite that made my stomach sink. Performance discussion, HR conference room B, Monday 10 a.m. No context, no agenda, just that subject line that everyone knows means the same thing. I spent the weekend feeling sick, not because I needed this job. I didn't, but because I'd tried to help, and somehow that had become a fireable offense. Monday morning came. I got to the office at 9:30. Jennifer was already sitting in conference room B when I walked in. So was David. And Stephanie from HR looking uncomfortable with a manila folder in front of her. No Ron Mitchell, though. CEOs don't show up when you're firing junior employees. "Maya, have a seat," Jennifer said. I sat down. My heart was pounding even though I already knew what was coming. "We're letting you go." Just like that. No preamble. No, "This is difficult for us." Straight to the point. "Can I ask why?" My voice came out calmer than I felt. Jennifer slid the manila folder across the table. "You've received multiple warnings about your attitude and failure to integrate with our team culture." I opened it slowly. 3 official write-ups, all dated within the past 6 weeks. Complaints about insubordination, undermining leadership, creating a negative work environment, all signed by Jennifer, all completely made up. "I was never shown any of these," I said quietly. "This is the first time I'm seeing them." "You were verbally warned," David said, still not looking at me. multiple times. That was a complete lie, but it didn't really matter. Washington is an at-will employment state. They could fire me because they didn't like my coffee order if they wanted to. They didn't need a real reason. "We'll pay you through the end of the month," Jennifer continued, "but we need you to clear out today. Someone from security will help you pack your things." And just like that, I was done. 20 minutes later, I was carrying a cardboard box through the office at 10:47 on a Monday morning while 23 people watched and pretended they weren't watching. Jennifer stood at her office door with her arms crossed, looking satisfied with herself, like she'd just solved a problem, like she'd just protected her team from a toxic employee. She actually thought she'd won something. I drove home in silence, carried the box up to my apartment, set it on my kitchen counter. Then I pulled out my phone and called my CFO, James. "Hey, boss, how's the corporate world treating you?" "I got fired." Long pause. Then, "Wait, from the marketing job, the one you were doing for fun?" "That's the one." I could hear him trying not to laugh. "Okay, so do you want me to do anything about that?" I looked out my apartment window. Monday afternoon traffic, people heading back to work after lunch, just a normal Monday for them. About to be the last normal day Catalyst Media Group would have for a while. "Pull the TechFlow contract," I said. Even longer pause this time. "Maya, that's $8 million a year. I know exactly what it is. If we pull that contract, Catalyst loses more than a third of their revenue. They'll have to do major layoffs. They might not survive at all. I know that too. Some of those people you worked with, good people who didn't do anything wrong, are going to lose their jobs." That one hit hard, because he was absolutely right. But then I thought about Jennifer standing at her office door, arms crossed, watching me carry that box through the office. I thought about David taking credit for work he didn't do while the company slowly fell apart. I thought about Ron Mitchell screaming at his assistant over a sandwich, then giving speeches about respect and collaboration. James, they fired me for trying to help them keep that client. They made up HR violations. They humiliated me in front of everyone. And here's the worst part. They have absolutely no idea they just fired the person who's been keeping them alive. James sighed. "You're absolutely sure about this?" "Send the termination notice tomorrow. Standard 90-day wind down. Keep it professional. Keep it clean." And when they inevitably ask why, tell them TechFlow is consolidating their agency relationships. Wish them well. Use the standard language. "You're ice cold, boss." "No," I said. "I'm just done being underestimated by people who should have known better." I hung up. My apartment was quiet. No phones ringing. No Slack notifications. No meetings to get to. Just silence. And I realized I felt lighter than I had in 3 months. For the next 3 days, I heard nothing. I went back to my regular life, my actual life, not the performance of being a $58,000 a year analyst. I worked on real Johnson Capital business from my apartment. I had lunch with friends who still thought my little corporate experiment was hilarious. I slept well. And then, on Thursday morning, my personal phone rang while I was making coffee. Unknown number. Seattle area code. "Hello? Maya. Maya Johnson?" A man's voice, stressed, almost frantic. "This is she. This is Ron Mitchell, CEO of Catalyst Media Group." I took a slow, deliberate sip of my coffee. "Oh, hi, Ron. Listen, there's been a huge mistake, a massive misunderstanding. Jennifer told me you left voluntarily to pursue other opportunities, but I just found out this morning that you were actually terminated, and I need to understand what happened because—" "That's correct," I said calmly. "I was fired last Monday. Maya, I need you to come back. Whatever happened with Jennifer, whatever was said, we can fix this. Name your salary. I'm serious. Name any number. We'll double what we were paying you. We'll give you David's job. We'll give you Jennifer's job if you want it. Just, please." "Ron," I interrupted gently. "Why are you calling me?" Silence on the other end. Then, quietly, like he was confessing something shameful, TechFlow pulled their contract this morning. I said nothing. Just waited. "Maya, they're more than a third of our annual revenue. We're already thin this quarter, and if we lose them, we're going to have to let a lot of people go. Good people. Please, whatever we did wrong, I'm sorry. Just tell me how to fix this." This was the moment. I could tell him everything, could explain exactly who I was and watch his entire world collapse over the phone. Could make him understand that Jennifer Walsh hadn't just fired some analyst. She'd fired the person who owned their biggest client. But that's not who I am. Ron, I appreciate you calling. I really do, but I can't come back. Maya, please, just listen for 1 minute. I listened, Ron. For 3 months. I told Jennifer that TechFlow was unhappy. I pointed out the problems. I suggested fixes, and I was fired for it. Not quietly, not professionally, in front of the entire team with made-up HR violations in a folder I'd never seen before. I didn't know about any of that. Jennifer told me you were struggling with the pace and the culture fit, and that it was a mutual decision to part ways. I had no idea. I know you didn't, and that's actually the real problem. You've built a company where the only way to survive is to stop caring. Where trying to help gets you labeled not a team player. Where the people managing your most important relationships care more about protecting their egos than protecting your business. I took a breath, trying to keep my voice steady. TechFlow didn't leave because of me, Ron. They left because your company failed them. Over and over. Missed deadlines, sloppy work, wrong logos on presentations. I was just the only person willing to say it out loud, and you fired me for saying it. Then help us fix it now. Please, I'm begging you, come back. Tell me what we need to change. I'll fire Jennifer today if that's what it takes. I'll restructure the entire leadership team. Just, please, don't let this company die because of mistakes I didn't even know we were making. For a second, I almost felt bad for him. He sounded genuinely devastated. But then, I remembered that he'd built this. He'd hired Jennifer. He'd promoted David. He'd created a culture where people got punished for good ideas and fired for caring. I tried to help, I said quietly. That's why I got fired. I'm not coming back so someone can do it to me again the next time I make a VP uncomfortable with the truth. Maya, please, I ended the call. Then I sat there for a long time, staring at my phone, feeling a mix of satisfaction and something that felt uncomfortably close to guilt. What happened next wasn't pretty. TechFlow's departure was just the beginning. Within 2 weeks, 2 more clients followed them out the door. Both cited strategic realignment in their official notices, but really they just read the room. When a company's biggest client walks away, everyone else starts wondering what they know that you don't. I heard about all of this through my professional network. The same network that had no idea I'd ever worked at Catalyst as anything other than an investor whose portfolio company did business with them. Catalyst had to lay off nearly half their staff within a month, 43 people. I know the exact number because I still had friends there who texted me when it happened. 43 people with rent payments and student loans, and families lost their jobs because executives at the top couldn't handle being wrong. That part still keeps me up some nights. Jennifer Walsh was fired. Finally got to experience what it felt like to pack a box while everyone pretended not to watch. David Park resigned to pursue other opportunities, which his LinkedIn code for was forced out before he could do more damage. Ron Mitchell stepped down as CEO and brought in a turnaround specialist, someone who, ironically, implemented almost exactly the quality controls and process improvements I'd suggested months earlier. Too late to save those 43 jobs, but better late than never, I guess. The company survived. Barely. They restructured, slashed costs, brought in new management, eventually stabilized at roughly half their previous size. But here's the thing that bothers me most. I didn't pull that contract to get revenge. I pulled it because once they fired me, I had zero reason to keep protecting them from the consequences of their own incompetence. 6 months went by. I ran Johnson Capital full-time. No more undercover corporate jobs. No more pretending to be less than I was just to see how regular office life worked. I was working from my apartment one afternoon when an email notification popped up. From Jennifer Walsh. Subject, I need you to know something. I stared at it for a long moment, cursor hovering over the delete button, but curiosity won. I opened it. Maya. Realized I was intimidated by you. From your very first day, you asked better questions than I did. You saw problems I couldn't see. You made me feel like I didn't deserve my position, and instead of learning from you or being grateful for your perspective, I tried to eliminate the threat you represented. I know saying I'm sorry doesn't fix anything. It doesn't give you back your job or erase the humiliation I put you through in front of everyone. But I want you to know, you were right about TechFlow. You were right about everything. I just wasn't strong enough to admit it until it cost me everything. I hope you're doing well, wherever you landed. Jennifer, I read it 3 times, feeling something shift in my chest. Then I wrote back. Jennifer, thank you for sending this. It takes real courage to own your mistakes, especially ones with consequences this big. For what it's worth, I don't think you're a bad person. I think you were scared, and fear makes all of us do things we're not proud of sometimes. I hope you find your way to something that makes you genuinely happy, something where you don't feel like you have to fight to prove you deserve to be there every single day. Good luck with everything. Maya, I didn't tell her who I really was. Some lessons land better when they stay mysterious. And that's where I left it. Jennifer searching for redemption she'd never fully get. Me running a company that could buy and sell TechFlow 10 times over. Some people don't deserve closure, they deserve to wonder. So here's my question for you. Have you ever been seriously underestimated at work? Have you ever tried to help and been punished for it? Have you ever walked away and let people figure out what they'd lost on their own? Drop your story in the comments. I'd love to hear it. And let me know where you're watching from. I see viewers from all over the world dealing with these same toxic workplace dynamics. Whether you're in Florida, London, Toronto, or Tokyo, we've all had that boss who couldn't see our value until we were gone. If this story resonated with you, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. I share stories every week about underdogs who flipped the script, people who were underestimated and came out on top, and the sweet satisfaction of letting karma do its work. Thanks for spending this time with me. See you in the next one.